Is a Dirshu Mishnah Berurah Simin Chof Hey Sif Bees through Dalit as we continue learning Hilchos Tefilin Baruch Hashem. All the learning has been generously sponsored. Has an incredible schos for Shlema V'Chad V'Leah Basardina, who unfortunately is currently critical. B'Siyata Dishmaya the Koyach HaTorah Limad Torah Baravim should bring Chavaleah Basardina an incredible and complete refuah shalema. So we pick it up over here in Sif Bees. Says the Machaber Mi Shehu Zoyer B'Talis Katan Yilbashanu V'Iniach Tefilin B'Beisai. Someone who is scrupulous, he's Zoyer with his Talis Katan. He should wear it and he should put on his tefillin in his house. V'Yilich Lavush Tzitzis, you should leave dressed, wearing tzitzis, Mukhtar B'Tefillin, and crowned with tefillin, giving us a bit of a perspective as we begin Hilchos Tefillin. What our tefillin is, it's a crown. You're Mukhtar B'Tefillin, Lebeis HaKnesses. V'Sham Yisati V'Talis Gadol. So if you're wearing your Talis Katan, you put on your tefillin, you walk to shul, and there you put on your Talis Gadol, says the Mechaber. No one should jump just let. Let's continue learning. Says the Rama, the Olam people are, the minhag is, the custom is to put on your Talis Gadol also at home, and to make a brach on it. And then put on your tefillin, so says the Mechaber and Rama, you put on your Talis and tefillin at home, and then you walk to shul. And of course, many people are currently wondering that they don't know many people that do this. So let's go headstrong into the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sivkot and Ches Be'Beisai, Kadesh Yetzim Be'Pesach Be'Isai B'Tzitzis and Tefillin. Why are you doing this? So that you leave your house with Tzitzis and Tefillin on together. Now he says, so why? As the Beis Yosef quotes in the Darkei Moshe B'Sima Zoyar, Ayin Sham Shu Inyan Gadol. Look over there, it's an incredible Inyan. I believe Dirshu over here, note number 12. Note number 12 doesn't bring down that the incredible shyness that the Beis Yosef talks about. He speaks over there that he brings you malachim, that you're walking to shul with a whole pack of malachim that are brought upon you with your talis and your tefillin. Once we have the Dirshu in front of us, note number 12, and over the middle of a Mishnah Berurah, but the Dirshu over here points out that what comes first, being the first 10 people in shul, or this mile of getting into shul with your talis and tefillin. So we'll see in Simin Sadi, name of the Magen Avram, that the Rizal was not a startling fact. He was not one of the first 10 members. Why? Because he was a chayli, he had to use the bathroom, and as well because he wanted to go out wearing his talis and his tefillin into shul, and he cannot do that so early in the day. And from the fact that the Rizal himself did not forego this mile of entering into shul with talis and tefillin, and he lost, the maila of being one of the 10 first people, so that he could wear his talis and tefillin. From here, says the Magen Avram, the maila of going to shul wearing your talis and tefillin is greater than even being the first 10 people in shul, which we know is an incredible maila. Being the first 10 people, it says you get the schar kulam, you get the reward of everyone davening. Still, entering with your talis and tefillin is even greater than that. The Kaf HaChaim says similarly. And then he goes into over here, but why does he say the reason is because that he didn't use the bathroom, he had to use the bathroom, etc., etc. Let's go back into the Mishnah Berurah, middle of learning why people don't necessarily do this nowadays, and perhaps where he wanted to get this Milo, we just saw how incredible it is. It's even better than coming to shul, one of the first 10, how we could get there. But back into the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkat and Ches, he continues, and if you know that as you're walking, you're going to pass by unclean places. Or there are gayim in the streets. And these are, of course, the two reasons that for most it's not so feasible to do this nowadays. Don't put it on at home, because you're not allowed to wear your tefillin both in front of gayim and in front of the filthy alleyway. So put them on in the courtyard of shul. And if that's also impossible, and cover over your tefillin with your hat or your hand. You get up early in the morning. You can't do this. That was what the Gain's problem was. Arizal's problem was. When it gets light outside, it's better to go into the Chatzar. So says the Mishnah Berurah, even if you're already in shul, it's better to go out, put on your talis and tefillin and then walk into shul. Because even though you're not getting the mile of going all the way in, but you're getting the mile of walking through the doorway, walking through the deles, the pesach, with the mezuzah, with your talis and tefillin, which at some level is similar to this mile of the Zayar bringing all these malachim. Visham yisatif, and we said, and there you put on your talis, v'afal pi, says the Mishnah Berurah of Katan Tes, sheba ha-talis gadol liyado kodim sheniach ha-tefillin. Says Mishnah Berurah, based on yesterday's discussion, you have your talis on top, so you take out your talis first. Why aren't you putting it on? Why are you rather putting on your tefillin first? Ein sarg l'sat by bebeisai. Why? And we spoke about this yesterday. Kim she'daita love sheikani, because you don't plan on putting it on now. The rules of tadir she'noi tadir. Tadir kaidem. Excuse me, incorrect. The rules of ein ma'avirin, that you're not allowed to pass over a mitzvah, that is only if you're planning on putting it on now. But if one is not planning on putting on his talis, you're allowed to pass over. Perhaps another example would be, some people put on tefillin Rabbeinu Tam later in the day, which we'll get to in the Mishnah Berurah soon enough. And let's say the same example, he has the talis first and the tefillin are behind it. But he's not putting on the talis right now. So there's no problem to be mavir to pass by the talis because you're not putting it on right now. If they're going in the streets, as we already saw, if it's possible. Make the bracha pirish birchas l'sate, we come and lift the bracha zu gamatal skatan. A discussion that we dealt with at length, that we want the acre to be the bracha on the talis gadol and tapat the talis gadol helps him in chesif yod. Ayin shamish the berurah sif katan chav dalid. Before we continue, let's just go to Dirshu over here, note number 13. And says the Dirshu, because maybe some people are wondering that nowadays are our roads really that filthy? So says Dirshu, what about garbage cans? Comes along Rav Shem Zalman and he says this is not considered it to be a filthy alleyway. On the other hand, Rav Yashiv, the Shver argues, and he says, no, if you have a garbage can, that does cause it to be considered a filthy alleyway, and therefore you cannot walk by with your talis and tefillin. Arletzion, he wants to differentiate that if they are disgusting, if they're not, okay, we'll leave it at that. But again, we also have the issue that walking by, there's always going to be goyim on the streets, so that's primarily the reason why many would not, if not all, do not put on the talis and tefillin at home. But again, we're seeing the ma'ila of putting it on in the shul before you walk into the main shul. And now let's go back to Sif Gimel. Says the Mechaber, when the Rosh would say Birchas HaShachar, he would say all the brachas until Oiti Yisrael b'Sefara. Va'az, and when he got to Oiti Yisrael, referencing our tefillin, Hayamaniach tefillin, then he would put on his tefillin, and then Umavarich Oiti Yisrael b'Sefara. Says Mishnah Berurah Sefkatin Yirbeis, Va'az, what's the reason? To give praise and to give thanks to Hashem when you say this bracha. Gam ala tefillin shenikra be'er. The tefillin are also called be'er. The glory to Klal Yisrael. The guy will see us and be afraid of us. And then you would make the bracha of Oiti Yisrael b'sifara, referring to the pe'er. Says the Arz Chaim, I don't find people that do like this rush. Putting your tefillin before or after. Everyone has their own minhag. Says the Arz Chaim, quoted by the Mishnah Berurah, what do the Medaktikin do? Lemashmesh betfilin shal yad v'shal roish v'shash v'var brachazu. That when you're making the bracha and saying the bracha v'ayta yisal b'sefara, we don't wait specifically to put on the tefillin there, but rather the Medaktin do touch the tefillin shal yad and tefillin shal roish. Says the Mechaber and Siftalit as we conclude today's shir. Sarach shei tefillin Allah v'shas kriya shema u'tfila. You have to wear your tefillin when you say kriya shema and shemona esrei. Says the Mishnah Berurah, what does this mean? Don't run out right now. I only have to wear my tefillin for Kriya Shema Shemona Esrei. No, at the very minimum. We'll get to Mitzvah's pace. And if you say Kriya Shema without wearing your tefillin, as we've already spoken about, because you're saying you're talking about your tefillin, you're not wearing them. Says explains the Mishnah Berurah on the last narrow line. B'di'evad yotzi de kriya shema. B'di'evad you are yaitse. Ex post facto you're yaitse if you said shema without your tefillin. Meikol makom yesh lo yavera mitzad acher. It's the incorrect thing to do. Shemara latzma. It shows shein roitz lekayim rotzon Hashem yisbarach. You don't want to be lekayim the rotzon of Hashem. V'zeu eidu sheker shemeir latzma. V'yesh ad pirush acher ayin belavosh. Another explanation. Look in the bush. V'katzah v'sefer charedim. To be said no my kishem v'haftas Hashem. Similarly, he says the charedim that when you say the first bracha of Kriya Shema v'haftas Hashem, which is dealing with Ahavas Hashem, loving Hashem, Ahavas Hashem, Yireh, what should you do? La'achnas Ahavas Hashem, Yisparach B'liboy. You also don't want to be saying one thing and having another intent. So what should you do? You should make sure to think at that moment how much we love Hashem, how much Hashem does for us, how much indebted and thankful we are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You don't want to be like one who speaks false. It's only if you did it purposely. You're lazy. And you're like, oh, I'll just say Kriya Shema now and I'll put on my tefillin later. That's me. It is a sheker. If you don't have tefillin, you can't put them on. Don't miss the Zman Kriya Shema. Din daraisa. We already pointed out how many daraisas do we get? There's daraisa of saying Kriya Shema bizmanei before Zman Kriya Shema. So don't wait because you don't have your tefillin. Of course, getting the Kriya Shema Zman comes first. Before we call it a day, let's flip over here. Let's look at a little bit of Dirshu. Dirshu note number 16 points out, what about Tefilin Derabenu Tam? We're going to see that on the Simon Medal, name of the Pri Megadim, that you're going to say Parsha Shema, Vayim Shemaya, but you don't have to say the Parsha of Tzitzis, and the reason being, because you fulfill the issue of Me'ez Eid Sheker, one of the reasons you're saying Shema with your Tefillin by saying the first two Parshas. What about by Tisha B'Av, when you put in your Tefillin by Mincha, Mir Tashem, we'll get there eventually in Tavkuf Nanhei, the Machaber over there points out that you do not say Kriya Shema and Kadesh. Why not? Because it's not Zaman Kriya Shema, therefore it's like reading in the Torah, and Tisha B'Av you're not allowed to read in the Torah. And we will pick it up in Mirza Hashem from here in the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.